Hi, this is your Sapna Bhartiya, and we are here at Open Source Summit in Seattle. And today we have with us once again Christophe Villemer, Executive Vice President of Savoir-faire Linux. Christophe, it's great to have you on the show.
Hi, Swapnil. It's a pleasure to be back.
Let's quickly remind our viewers what is the company all about.
The company Savoir-faire Linux is a service company doing software engineering and building software for our clients, and we are a member of the Linux Foundation, the Linux Foundation Energy too.
Talk a bit about LF Energy. What do they do, and what is their role? Because we can have a myopic view and look at the work they are doing in the energy sector, or we can have a broader view and we can talk about things like climate change.
The first topic of the LF Energy is really to gather all the actors of the energy transition to get gathered together to build projects that will speed up the decarbonization of the energy sector. And so that's really the core of what the LF Energy aims to do. But for sure now, at the edge, there is a lot of issues and projects also that are related to the sustainability, and all things on that topics too.
And how serious is this, when decarbonization or climate crisis, how serious is this problem actually?
That's a tough question, but it is, I think it's serious for all of us. If you're living on the West Coast, you see that, I'm living in Quebec, and for sure we saw on a day-to-day that, climate is changing. We didn't have any winter this year, and I'm living in Quebec for 20 years now, and I saw really the change. So this is a reality, this is a fact. So it's just a question of how we work all together to make things to change, because we know that we will need to change, and the challenge, the stake of the energy transition are huge, and it is huge for the energy sector that needs to adapt very quickly and quicker than it used to do. By the past, I had a conference recently in Quebec where the Ministry of Industry of Energy, was saying that Hydro-Quebec, by example, or needs to, to make in couple of years, in 25 years, what they achieved in 60 years before. So every company, that's the same in France and Europe, when we have a lot of customers in the sector. Everybody needs to adapt much more quickly than we used to be.
Why is there so much focus on the energy sector, energy industry? That are they the biggest contributor to the crisis, or is like
no, they're not the biggest contributor, but they will be one of the major solver of the problem and finding solution, because decarbonization means we will use more and more energy, electricity, reducing the fossil energy, and that means bringing on the network, solar, aeolian, electricity source of production, and then we'll need to produce more electricity to face the challenges, the electric vehicles, more consumption, and having also, an evolution of the grid, which will need to be much more flexible, because now you will have, multiple production. You will be probably maybe soon, having your own flat or building that will produce energy, and then share energy with your neighbors, share with the grids. And so that means that all the system who was, very legacy needs to adapt to be able to face all that challenges.
When we talk about, as you're mentioning, that most of the houses, they have, solar panels now. We are putting electrons back into the grid. We also have EVs now, which actually consume way more energy than an average household will use for charging them. What kind of pressure it is putting on the infrastructure, which has been around for a while, which kind of needs to be modernized?
It's definitely, the grid needs to be more modernized, because all the technology that are running the grid are analogic legacy technology that has been used for the past 25 years. But now it needs to be, really modernized to gain flexibility and to be able, that's all the new technology from AI to virtualization that will run on the grid will be able to be manageable. So that's really one of the key parts, having a grid that could be manageable. And that's also some of the project of the Linux Foundation Energy, as helping utilities and actors of that sector to build new technology for this new grid, or the grid 2.0.
When we talk about the whole grid or energy sector, what kind of players? We talk about TSOs, we talk about DSOs. People don't realize it. They just know the electric company that they get the bill from. In my case, Dominion. But can you talk about the different constituents of this energy sectors? Grid operators are there. Distributors are there. Energy producers are there.
I'm running an IT company, and I'm in the energy sector for 5 years now. So
you're a pro.
No, I'm not a pro. I'm not an expert in energy, but now to their contacts, I learn a lot, and it was amazing to see how that ecosystem is really vibrant and moving forward. And it takes, the production, the producer of energy. It takes, the distributor, the transportation of the energy. We call it the TSO, the DSO that distribute the energy to your home, and of course all the major vendor. Like, they're not that much. They're well known. GE, Vernova, Hitachi, Siemens, Schneider, ABB, name it. They're a bunch of it. They are a core technology on that. We see that they need to evolve to adapt their service, their product to that to this new ecosystem, and also new IT company, moving forward, like Savoir-faire Linux, like others, because there is a huge change, also human change in their company that used to be, we call it very OT, and now that moving to IT. So this convergence between OT and IT is also one of a strong internal challenge for all that companies. So now IT company is also moving forward to that ecosystem, and for sure research center, universities is really linked to that ecosystem. And that's actually all that ecosystem are gathered together in the LF Energy. So that's why the LF Energy is really reflecting quite well all the population that are working together on that field.
Now, when we look at energy sector, it's a bit different as compared to other industries. Is that in one country you'll see just only one company, for the whole country, It's not a monopoly per se, but it's not as competitive as other industries are. How difficult or challenging it becomes to bring these players together, because unlike other industries, it's a bit different. And so, can you talk about the when you say it's vibrant, but there may be some challenges also?
There are a lot of challenges, and it's when you innovate, and when you are in an industry in transformation, it doesn't go straight away. You've got up and down, you've got pioneers, you've got people that are reluctant to move, and you have followers. So you need to have pioneers, and in the LF Energy, the two pioneers I saw was really RTE, the French TSO, and also Aliender, the Dutch DSO distributor. They were very leading the show, but it's very good now to see that all this interest is driving a lot of new actors into the ecosystem, and all that. As you said, this, especially the utility, they were in a way of a monopoly in their country, but because of the new challenge of the energy transition, they need to work together. Sometimes they need to sell or buy electricity from your neighbors. So it's not the same challenges that it used to be 20 years ago. And also they see that if they want to speed up their research and development, speed up the adoption of new technology, you can do, alone in your backyard, doing things by your own. You need to be in collaboration, and that is what we see in the LF Energy. That people are moving around and getting much more interested in that, and we'll have. Allow me to speak about that now, but we'll have in September, early September, in Brussels, in Belgium, the LF Energy Summit. And that will be a very good place for all the actors that are interested or learning more, meeting the actors, to join the conference. That will be a very nice one this year.
Now we talked about the larger, bigger picture. Now let's just zoom in and look at. Of course, LF Energy has a lot of projects, but of course the foundation is relatively new. Industry, not industry, but the projects are relatively new. Talk about the project that you folks are involved with.
We are involved in the LF Energy SEAPATH project, which is, like every open source project almost, that's a long acronym. So SEAPATH it's for software enable automation platform and artifact therein. But to resume what it is, what it does, SEAPATH is like a Linux distribution. It's like an OS, operation system, that will run virtualization into the new grid, that will manage virtualization into the new grid. As I explained before, the grid needs to be modernized, and people get the vision that's what happened in the telecom industry, 10 years ago through the 5G revolution and the virtualization of all the software-defined network. This is what needs to be done on the electrical grid, and that's what SEAPATH is bringing. It will bring virtualization into the grid, into the what we call the digitized substation. So all the node of the grid, which are the substation, will be digitized, and then all the business, the automation, control, security, AI, algorithm, software that will manage the grid and control it will be run virtually through VM or Docker into a SEAPATH platform. That's the goal we are trying to follow on SEAPATH.
Earlier when you were talking about the infrastructure which was kind of aging, not aging, but it was like analogous. So when it comes to grid specifically, what are the areas when if a SEAPATH project, but can you talk about what are we modernizing, what are we digitizing there?
It's really all the intelligence of the grid. The technology that are now running into the substation are mainly analogic. It becomes to be digital, but it's really, I will be not flexible enough to make sure that the grid will be able now to react quickly, to be manageable at distance, remotely, to also receive new software for automation and virtual and protection. So this is what SEAPATH will bring. So it means reducing hardware, being able to have like hardware agnostic platform. So it's also a question of reducing the cost, speeding the deployment in the digitized substation. So it brings a lot of new value in the way this substation will be managed in the future.
Can you talk about the role that substations play in the whole grid infrastructure? Because most people don't realize that sometimes the demand goes high, the demand goes down. You need to know some predictability when things may go wrong, something that are similar. So what is the role of substation in there?
From my perspective, that's all that, the grid you will need to manage the demand, because the demands will be less linear than it used to be. Before it was easy. You've got the production and the electricity was going forward like a river to your home. But now, as we explained, because of the microgrid, because of new source of production of energy through solar, through wind energy, you need to manage a lot of new flexibility, the new demand. Apart what a grid needs to manage, which means the first one is protection. When you have an incident on the grid, you need to be able to cut the grid quickly. So protection, automation, control are really the first command of what happened on the grid. But now we'll need to bring much more new add value for managing the demand, managing the flexibility, managing also the stake of the cybersecurity of that, because as soon as you digitize, critical assets, you need to think about cybersecurity, about new menace, could be attack. We saw that, recently, unfortunately, in some conflict all over the world, that's, production of energy, our target. So you need to protect your grid from the cyber menace too. So it means that you need to achieve a lot of new challenges altogether on that project to be sure that this key solution will be the asset and the foundation of the next generation of the grid.
You talked about the challenges that grid faces, substation. Can you also talk about the challenges that are there for CPAT project that you folks are looking at addressing?
We have a lot of challenges, as all fast-growing open source project, that the challenge of managing a community which is growing, keeping the neutral governance of the project, because that's the key of the LF Energy framework, having a neutral governance of the project, making sure that the needs of everybody are listened to, and making new actors to be involved in the project, facing technical challenges, and making sure that we address these challenges technically speaking, and also the cybersecurity is a huge challenge. And I thank the Linux Foundation Energy, because they took very seriously the cybersecurity approach and issues. So we have a cybersecurity audit, which is financed by the LF Energy, to make sure that we are going on the right path. And SEAPATH is one of the fifth early adoption stage of maturity project at the LF Energy. So that already means that we have to cover some, cyber aspect, or on the also software supply chain. So we feel a lot of red flag on the OpenSSF aspect. So it's all the flag are green on our GitHub. So all these challenges regarding the cybersecurity, the governance of the project, the technical challenge, is we need to address that all together. And hopefully we have a very good ecosystem in the TSC. The TSC is open, so that means that all the conversations are documented on the wiki. They are public, so everybody who are interested could come, see, listen to what happens before to get involved.
Can you talk about the state, the maturity of CPAT project? If there are deployments, what is the state?
Because we are an early adoption project, that means that CPAS is existing in the real world. As I said, the pioneer was RTE, the French TSO, that have since a couple of months a pilot substation running with their new control command, running on with CPAS with satisfaction, and that's very cool. And also RTE published a first RFI and RFQ with asking the market to test, protection, soft protection and software to run on the CPAS hosted by the RTE. So that was a huge move on the market to say, okay, CPAS is production ready, and you have a big TSO in the world that asked the market to supply and test some virtualization, some virtualized protection to run on that. We also have one of our strong contributor, GE Vernova, who is also running some POC in some European national grid. And we saw There is also the French DSO. And some other. There are some European DSO that actually are trying to evaluate SEAPATH as a potential solution on their roadmap to build their digitized substation. And we saw, because recently we made a training on SEAPATH with RT International, which is the service branch of RT for getting abroad. And we had a huge interest, and we see a huge interest on the market by TSO and DSO from South America, North America, Europe, around SEAPATH. So that means that we are at the good time, at the right time, and that's give us a huge responsibility for keeping the track of good governance of that project.
When we look at some of these LF Energy projects, are they going just the Linux kernel, right? It doesn't matter where you are, it will solve everybody's problem. Are they specific to specific industries or standards, or these projects can be used globally?
No, I think it can be used globally, and the project has been built in a way that the utilities, the big utilities, can use it themselves, but it can be also embedded into product by the vendors or IT companies. That means that in that way, it could be, like really the core technology that could be used for the grid. Either it will be sold by a GE Vernova or by a Schneider or by other IT company that could build it in a way that could satisfy all the kind of the market. For sure, the North American market is different. The adoption of open source is different from Europe. The energy sector is much more fragmented. But then we are pretty confident that the way the project is built, it's robust enough to satisfy all the market with a different approach. And that's probably another challenge of the project, that we need to change the business model. We need to adapt either the vendors, traditional vendors, an IT company like us. We launched last year in the LF Energy Summit in Paris our offer of commercial support of SEAPATH, but probably tomorrow other company will do the same. And that's the strength of an open source ecosystem, is competition and competition. So the more competition I will have, the more actors will use, will mean that the project will be solid enough, robust enough to get really ready for the production.
Who should join or contribute to the project?
For me, anybody that have an interest or business related to the management of the grid should have a look at the SEAPATH project and get involved. As I said, the TSC is public, so just have a look what's happened. We have done a strong effort with RTE by the past to do a lot of conference to all the former open source summit. We have a lot of conference online. The people could have a look on that. Come, join the club. Look if it's interesting for you. We see also, hardware company has begin to be interested in that because it's hardware agnostic. Now this solution will run into industrial hardware. So all the company that's run industrial hardware should be interested in that field. To maybe tomorrow we'll be able to certify some hardware to be SEAPATH compliant. So we have a lot of ideas. There is a lot of place on the market to take. And as I said, the more we will be, the strongest the ecosystem will be.
Christophe, thank you so much for taking time out today, and not only just talk about SEAPATH project, but the wider role that LF Energy and Savoir-faire Linux is playing to kind of address this challenge. So, of course, thanks for all the work that you folks are doing, and also, as you said, the open source is a positive sum game. There's no loser, there's only winners. So that's also nice approach. Thanks for all those insights, and I would love to chat with you again. Thank you.
That was a pleasure. Thank you very much, Swamil.